the pressure is mounting on the Democratic Party as we get closer to the Democratic National Convention, as nearly 30 top Democratic political figures have called on Joe Biden to drop out of the race because he runs a severe risk of Donald Trump winning in a landslide. So that leaves some options open in terms of who is going to replace Biden if he does eventually decide to drop out. Today is July 18th, so as of now, more and more Democratic lawmakers and politicians have called upon Biden to drop out of the race. And the most likely replacement for Joe Biden is his vice president, Kamala Harris. So the question is, in a head-to-head matchup, how would Harris fare against the former president? And that's exactly what we're going to look at today. So this is Election Intel. Feel free to hit that subscribe button, and let's get going into this video. So for this specific election analysis, I have already filled out the Republican and Democratic states based off of polling between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, head-to-head polling, in which states are safely going to land in each candidate's category. So you can see all the states that I have filled in red and blue there as our likely to safe Republican or Democrat states. And you can see as it stands right now, it's 219 electoral votes going to Donald Trump and 213 sitting in Kamala Harris's category. So what we're going to do is we're going to go west to east, filling out the states that are potential battleground states in a face-off between Harris and Trump. So starting with Nevada here. Of course, in a Biden-Trump matchup, Trump has been consistently leading in Nevada. But with Harris and Trump, that lead actually opens up more. Polling is showing Donald Trump sitting up by 8 points in Nevada, and that's actually up from the 6 that it was last week. So I think it's safe to say that Nevada is going to hop into that Trump category if it does end up being a matchup between Trump and Harris. And the same goes for Arizona. Polling in Arizona shows Trump up by 6 points. Again, between a bunch of different pollsters' collections, it looks like that average is sitting around 5 to 6 points ahead in favor of Donald Trump. So we would likely see Arizona land in the Trump column again. So already, really quickly, we see that lead extend for Trump and the Republicans. It's 236 to 213. And as we head over to the Midwest and the East Coast over here, that's where the matchup gets really interesting. So landing on Wisconsin in a Trump-Harris matchup, Trump leads polling by 1 point in Wisconsin. And I think that this is going to be a really vital state because Wisconsin also borders with Michigan here. And Michigan is one of those states that, of course, went for Trump in 2016, flipped to Joe Biden in 2020, and now polling between Trump and Biden, at least, is really tight. So I think that with Wisconsin, the way that Wisconsin goes also is going to be a really huge teller of what happens in Michigan. But right now, Trump leads by 1 point in Wisconsin. And so based off of that polling, that's how we're filling this map out. Wisconsin would also land in Donald Trump's category. So we got 246, 213 for Republicans as we stand right now. Now heading over to Michigan, this is really interesting because polling has Trump up by 5 points in Michigan. But what I think is really interesting as we get closer to the East Coast here, I think one question is, okay, if Kamala Harris does take Joe Biden's spot as the Democratic nominee for the 2024 election, who is she going to choose as her vice presidential running mate? Is it going to be somebody that's been speculated like Gavin Newsom or potentially one of our other prominent Democrats like a Michelle Obama potentially? But one person whose name has been floated around quite a bit is Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. And his prominence in kind of this Rust Belt area, this Midwest area, he's a pretty popular guy, believe it or not. But with Trump up by 5 points in Michigan, I just don't think there's enough room for error right there. And I do think we see Michigan land in Trump's category as well in this hypothetical election matchup. Now, with that being said, jumping down to the state of Pennsylvania, Trump only leads Harris by 2 points in Pennsylvania. Now, what I found really interesting is this polling that I'm using is off of 538, and in a hypothetical Donald Trump versus Josh Shapiro matchup, Josh Shapiro leads Trump by 4 points in Pennsylvania. So, with that being said, if Kamala Harris decides to choose Josh Shapiro as her running mate, I think it's pretty safe to say that Pennsylvania could very well go back into that Democratic column. So that's where I'm going to land on this one. And I say Pennsylvania goes blue if it's a Kamala Harris, Josh Shapiro ticket. Now, if it's not a Kamala Harris, Josh Shapiro ticket, she ends up choosing somebody else, it could very well go back to the Republicans, which would put them over the 270 mark. But let's hypothetically say this is a Kamala Harris, Josh Shapiro ticket. That goes in the Democrats category. So we got 261 Republicans, 232 Democrats. One state in the Trump-Biden matchup that is really kind of a toss-up now, and actually Trump is leading Biden pretty consistently in Virginia now, is really interesting. But now we take a look at a Trump-Harris matchup. Trump leads Kamala Harris by 4 points in Virginia. So it's also safe to say that that state is going to land in the column of Donald Trump, putting the Republicans over the 270 electoral votes needed to win the White House. But it doesn't stop there. 538 polling shows North Carolina going for Trump plus 10, so a very safe state right there, going red, bringing the Republicans to 290 electoral votes. And then another state, another southern state that went for Biden in 2020 in a Trump-Harris matchup is showing Trump plus 10 in Georgia, also marking that as a fairly safe state based off of this July 2024 polling. So this is what, at least as of now, polling in July 24 shows for a Donald Trump-Kamala Harris matchup, a 306 to 232 electoral vote win, something really similar to what we saw in 2016 when it was a Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton matchup. So, of course, we're going to know more. We don't even know if Joe Biden's going to drop out yet or if Kamala Harris is going to be that eventual nominee. But as the weeks go on and as we find out more information, my guess is we're going to be exposed to some more accurate polling. We'll see what actually happens in these states. But as of right now, sitting in July, this is where it sits for a potential Donald Trump-Kamala Harris matchup. If you like these types of videos, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm going to leave those links in the description. We'll see you in the next video.